everybody. Piper Harris here, and another installment of Caring Through COVID. So let's get to it. How stressed are you? Are you feeling stressed? I'm sure you are. Right now, more than ever, we are faced with a real present danger found not only in the COVID virus around the globe, but within ourselves with burnout and emotional exhaustion. And we're especially seeing that right now with our healthcare workers. So, how about you? Are the stressors and strains of everything going on right now starting to fray your edges? Today, I want to introduce you to the demand control support model. Essentially, what this model says is that high demands in combination with low decision making ability and low social support are associated with higher risks of health issues and burnout. However, we can fight emotional exhaustion. We really can by decreasing demands, increasing support, and increasing control. Before you roll your eyes, throw your hands up and stop watching. I know this sounds like there's no way that you can do those things. You might not be able to effect, any sort of change in all three areas, but maybe just one, and maybe it'll help. So keep listening. First, what I'd like us to do is to take an inventory. So consider a scale from 1 to 10, a scale from 1 to 10. 1 is not so great, 10 is fantastic. I want you to ask yourself these questions. How is your current social support right now? How is your current social support scale of 1 to 10? 1, it's not great. 10, it is awesome. I'm making quarantine and social isolation work for me, okay? What are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Write that down. Number two, how are your current demands on your time, whether that's work, whether you're still at the office, whether it's learning to work remotely, maybe you're having to homeschool while working remotely. Where is that demand on your time? Do you feel like it's awful, so 1, or do you feel like it's great, I've got everything in control? Okay, 1 to 10. Lastly, I want you to consider, how is your ability to make decisions? How do you feel about your ability to make decisions that are directly related to your work life or your personal life? What all of it. Okay, so 1 is it's not great, I don't have a lot of decision-making ability. 10 is yes, I have free reign. Okay, so you've got your 3 numbers, right? Scale of 1 to 10. How's your social support? How are the demands on your time? And how is your ability to make decisions? When you're looking at your answers, when you're looking at these answers now, what I want you to do is I want you to throw that original scale away, that 1 to 10. Okay, throw it away. We are in unprecedented times, and our scale that we usually are working on, 1 to 100, 1 to 10, we're not going to hit that 100%. I talked a little bit about that last week. So what I want you to do is I want you to reimagine your scale. So with all that you're faced with and everything that's on your plate with the change, with COVID and quarantine, all of that, I want you to reimagine your scale, okay? So for me, what I've personally done is I've gone from a 1 to 10, or really I think of it in my mind as a 1 to 100%, down to a 1 to 6, or a 1 to 60%. I've scaled back by 40%, okay? Because I understand that I'm not going to be able to hit that 100%. Now, I might have a day where I hit an 8 or 9, which is fantastic, but I am no longer looking at my scale from 1 to 10. I had to reset and reimagine my own personal scale for my own personal mental health. So now, thinking about your new scale that I've asked you to reimagine, where are you landing on that scale? Where are you landing on that scale with your numbers, okay? So remember, that's in relation to social support, current demand on your time, and decision-making abilities, okay? If you're halfway, say you're using my scale from 1 to 6 or 1 to 60%, if you're halfway or just above halfway, so like 3 to 4, 3.5, you're actually doing pretty darn good, all things considered. However, if you're not, and if you feel like you are on the low end of the scale, we can work through some things to try to help you, to give you more control over what's going on in your life. And the reason we're talking about this is that we are trying to help those frayed edges slow down with the fray. Emotional exhaustion and burnout are inevitable for what we're all faced with right now. But we can take some steps to effect change in these areas of our life. So number one, if you answered that you were low on the ability, like the demands of your time with work or with home, here's some options for you. Reduce the demands of your job. Before you roll your eyes, I know some of you just simply can't, especially our healthcare workers. We're so grateful to you. Anyone on the front lines, we are so grateful to you. Outside of that, because we recognize that you really can't reduce the demands of your job on the front lines right now. Outside of that, consider this. How can you reduce the demands of your job? Talk to your manager. Talk about the load that you have. Brainstorm some strategies for remote work. Maybe that's less video conference calls and more singular streamed emails. Maybe it's cutting down on 15 forms and cutting it down to 3. Really consider those demands on your time, your work, your load. What can you do to reduce those? Consider those. Number 2, how can you increase your control over decision making? How can you increase your control over decision making? Again, consider your professional life. Go in, talk to your boss. How can you segment out your work? How can you segment teams? First of all, it's going to be difficult. I understand we're in tumultuous times trying to coordinate and do all these things, but there is an opportunity for you to control decision making, even if you're the worker bee. The way you can do that is you can control your emotions. We can control our emotions. It's hard when we have these stressors, these demands, and all these decisions we have to make, or we're being told to make, or we don't have control over what time I show up to work or what form I put in. You do have control over the decision of sitting in those emotions. So to control those emotions and make a clear decision over how you approach your emotions during this time, you can use reappraisal. So reframing, instead of saying, I am so fed up with these kids and having to do what my boss is asking me to do and having to do the teacher's work and teach my kids, which I'm sure some of us have said in the last week. You can reframe it as, I have the opportunity to learn to re-strategize in my life. I'm going to work between this hour and this hour for my boss, and this is when I'm going to work with the kids. This is an opportunity to help my kids grow in a different way than I ever imagined. So it's a reframing. The second way that you can really control some of the decision making, make the decision to control your emotions, is by distraction. So the distraction method, that might be going to take a quick walk. That might be, walking the stairs, since a lot of us can't get out of our homes. Distraction is helpful. It's very helpful. Now, what I want to say when it comes to distraction is distraction can actually turn into avoidance. And so we need to be very careful with not using behaviors that are just complete avoidance, like Netflix and binging on Netflix. So when it comes to distraction, I love the Pomodoro method. I usually set a 45-minute time period, but 15, 10, sometimes 10 minutes, I take a block of my 15-minute block of thinking and allow myself 10 to 15 minutes of an hour block, to just be distracted. So that might be cranking on my music. It might be going downstairs and getting on the treadmill real quick. I mean, there's a lot of ways that I distract my mind. And the Pomodoro method has shown to be a lot more effective. So think about reframing and distraction when it comes to making the decision to control your emotions. If you can't control any other decisions, you can control that one. Lastly, how can you increase your social support? I know that is really hard right now because we are all virtually bound, and maybe you're at home and you don't have a family that's surrounded by you, but we do have technology. So how can you increase your social support? Whether it's a Reddit group, whether it's getting on a video call. Here's another option for those of you that have been thrust as an organization into working remotely, and how do you do these things, and you're seeing your employees kind of slip. You really need to keep a pulse on those thoughts and feelings. Consider creating a Helpseeker. So this is someone that you can designate daily or even weekly if you want to, a new individual daily or weekly, it's up to you, but someone that you will designate as the helper, the help seeker. Here's what it's going to do. You've designated a person that their sole focus that day is, I'm going to help and serve those within my organization. So you're giving them the opportunity, you're giving them the control to decide how to help someone. You're giving them the social support that they're going to be able to give to someone and receive in return. But you're also giving them the ability to decide what demands of time that they're going to focus on. So as a leader of your organization, you will, when you designate someone as your helper, your help seeker, they might not do all those reports that they have to do. You're going to have to give a little. But here's the thing. When you designate a help seeker, one, you're going to give someone the control that they need over their demand, the social support, all of those things. They're going to need that. They're also feeding into the vibrancy and health of your organization. That's going to uplift their spirits. Conversely, what's going to happen with the rest of the people in the organization is they're going to know someone is there for them. Hey, I have a question. I don't know how to use Zoom. I don't know how to send this document. I don't know how to do a PDF and scan and, all the things that there might be going on. So they're going to know that there's somebody always going to be there for them. And again, by virtue of designating this help seeker, you're allowing them control over their social support. You're giving them built-in social support. You're allowing them to go to someone and help them with decision making. You're allowing them to say, okay, I'm feeling this on my plate right now. The demand of my time is a little too much. What do you say, help seeker? It's a wonderful opportunity for you to feed into the health of your organization. So, it's a lot. I know all of us are feeling the stress and the strain right now. So consider the demand control support model. How can you effect your demand, your control, and your support for yourself? How can you effect your demand, control, and support for your organization positively? Really be thinking preventatively. What are my employees going to be feeling as we're working remotely? What am I going to be feeling? And how can you reduce some of the demand, reduce some of the inability to make decisions? So increase decision-making ability and increase social support. Burnout is very, very real right now, and it's been shown to affect your health. And at this time, boy, do we need our health. So I pray that you're able to consider this demand support control model and the 3 questions on how you're going to increase your social support, increase your decision-making ability, and decrease your demand. And think about your scale. Your scale should no longer be a 1 to 10. Where's your scale at? Maybe it's going to change daily. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am Piper Harris with Poema Women's Success Coaching. I empower women and organizations into heightened leadership through things like this. We have the dialogue, we have the session, we figure out how can we make your organization or yourself empowered in leadership. So I hope this was helpful. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you back here tomorrow.